I told you not to touch my dress. Do you even know how much this costs? Emma screamed, her voice sharp enough to cut the air in the hotel suite. The room went silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner and the pop song playing low from someone's phone. The older black woman in the gray maid uniform froze, her brown hand still inches from the white lace that hung like a cloud from the doorway. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, her voice quiet but steady, eyes lowered. "I was just moving it so the steamer wouldn't." "Just don't," Emma snapped, her cheeks hot, her heart racing. "You don't touch things like this, okay? One stain and it costs more than you make in a year." The words flew out before she could stop them, ugly and loud, and as soon as they landed in the room, even Emma felt something in her chest twist. From the hall, her fiancé Tyler paused, one hand on the doorframe, hearing only the last part. He saw the maid's face flinch, like she had been slapped without a hand, and he saw Emma standing there in her silk robe, blonde hair pinned up, breathing hard like she had just run a race she never wanted to admit she was losing. For a moment, nobody moved. Emma's best friend Hannah sat on the couch with a curling iron in her hand, her mouth open like she wanted to say something but didn't dare. Emma's mother, Diane, stood by the windows with a glass of sparkling water, lips pressed tight, eyes full of cold approval that Emma had grown up chasing. The maid cleared her throat. "I'll be out of your way now," she said, and turned toward the door. As she walked past Tyler, he noticed the deep, shiny scars along the backs of her hands, old burn marks that reached up toward her wrists, like pale rivers on dark skin. He felt a strange pull in his memory, a quick flash of orange light and heat, but it was gone before he could grab it. "Ma'am, I didn't mean," Emma started, but the maid was already out in the hall, the door closing soft behind her. "Honestly, Emma," her mother said, stepping forward, voice low but firm, "if they listened the first time, you wouldn't have to raise your voice. This is your day. Don't let staff ruin it." Emma swallowed hard, eyes stinging, and told herself the tightness in her chest was just wedding stress, nothing more. Down the long hallway of the Atlanta hotel, Denise Carter walked with her head high and her hands shaking. She had learned long ago to wait until she was alone before she let words like that sink in. She stepped into the service elevator, the doors closing her away from the thick carpet and soft music upstairs, into the metal box that smelled like cleaning spray and tired feet. Only then did she let out the breath she had been holding. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she pulled it out, smiling in spite of everything when she saw the name. "Hey baby," she answered, forcing some light into her voice. "You at home?" Her son Jalen's voice came through, young and bright, and a little worried. "Yeah, Mom. You okay? You sound, I don't know." Denise leaned back against the wall and stared up at the faded ceiling. "I'm fine," she lied softly. "Just a long day. You get that math test back." Yolan groaned, and she listened as he told her about algebra and a teacher who talked too fast, and about trying out for the school basketball team. As he spoke, her face relaxed, the weight in her chest easing. She had taken this hotel job because it came with steady hours and health insurance, and because it was close enough to their small apartment on the south side that she could get home before dark. When she hung up, she slid the phone back into her pocket and rubbed the scar on her left hand, without thinking, the way she always did when she felt tired. She could still remember the fire that had left that mark, the smell of smoke in her hair for days after. The way sirens sounded different when you were the one holding someone's life between your hands. She shook the thought away and pushed her cart toward the laundry room. Upstairs, in the wide, bright suite, Hannah unplugged the curling iron and finally spoke. "Em," she said, her tone careful. "That was kind of harsh, don't you think?" Emma dropped into the chair by the mirror, staring at her own reflection, trying to see a bride and not the scared girl hiding under the expensive makeup. "I didn't mean it like that," she muttered, picking at the edge of her robe. She almost touched the lace with that dirty cart. "This dress is..." It has to be perfect. Hannah glanced at Emma's mother, who was scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. It's not just about the dress, Hannah whispered. Emma thought of all the times as a kid she had watched her mom snap at waiters, drivers, cleaners, always with that same look of cold, practiced power. When Emma swore she would never be like that, she meant it. But here she was, and somewhere inside, a small, honest voice whispered, "You already are." Later that afternoon, while the wedding party went downstairs to rehearse in the ballroom, Tyler found himself wandering toward the staff hallway instead. His tie hung loose around his neck, and his dress shoes clicked on the tile as he passed carts stacked with towels and boxes of glassware. He told himself he was just trying to clear his head before the night got busy, but the truth was, he couldn't shake the look on the maid's face. At the end of the hall, he saw her in the little break room, sitting at a plastic table with a styrofoam cup of coffee, staring at the wall like she was looking right through it. For a second he thought about turning back, not wanting to make things more awkward, but something made him step inside. "Hi," he said, clearing his throat. She looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. "I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what happened upstairs." Denise studied him. His face was kind, brown hair a little messy, green eyes warm. He looked younger without the suit jacket, more like the college kids she sometimes saw downtown. "You didn't say it," she answered, but there was no anger in her voice, just tired truth. "Still," he said, pulling out a chair, "I'm Tyler. I'm the guy in the tux, I guess." Something flickered across her face when he said his name, something like shock, and then quick, careful control. But it vanished so fast, he thought he had imagined it. "Denise," she said. He sat down across from her, and his gaze slipped again to the scars on her hands. They tugged at that same old memory, like fingers pulling at a loose thread buried deep. A highway at night, rain on the windshield, the blare of a horn. His chest tightened, and he rubbed the spot on his ribs where the doctors had said the airbag saved him. "Have we met before?" he asked slowly. The question hung between them, strange and heavy. Denise's hand went to her throat for a second, feeling for a necklace she no longer wore. "I don't think so," she said, but her eyes drifted away, and he saw the lie there, small and scared. Before he could push more, the hotel manager stuck his head in the doorway. "Carter, we need you on 12, he said. Guests spilled wine all over the hallway carpet. Denise stood up fast. "I have to go," she said, nodding at Tyler. "Hope your wedding goes well, sir." As she passed him, he caught a faint smell, smoke, and something sharp, a scent that lived deep in his nightmares. He sat there long after she left, trying to place it, and somewhere far away in his mind, a dark highway burned again. By evening, the hotel glowed with soft lights, and the ballroom looked like something out of a magazine. White flowers spilled from tall glass vases, candles flickered on every table, and a string quartet played near the stage. Guests in expensive clothes filled the room with laughter and perfume and the clink of glass. Emma stood near the back, in a pale blue dress for the rehearsal, smiling with her mouth while her stomach twisted. She watched Tyler laugh with his groomsmen, but his eyes kept drifting toward the doors, like he was looking for something else. When the coordinator called everyone to line up, Emma tried to shove all the earlier mess out of her mind. This was the night before her wedding. She had worked too hard, waited too long, to let a maid and a mistake ruin it. As they practiced walking down the aisle between the rows of chairs, Diane leaned in and whispered, "Tomorrow, remember to hold your chin up. People can smell weakness." Emma nodded, swallowing the bitter taste in her throat. After the rehearsal, as servers cleared plates and staff moved quietly along the walls, Emma went back up to the suite to grab her phone. When she opened the door, she saw Denise by the vanity, wiping a faint ring of makeup off the marble. For a second, both women froze. Then something inside Emma frayed and sharp from years of pressure, snapped. "Why are you still in here?" she demanded, voice too loud in the empty room. "I told you, don't touch my stuff. Do you even listen? Or is it hard, with people like you?" The last 3 words hung in the air like poison. Denise straightened slowly, turning to face her. There was no fear on her face now, only a calm that felt stronger than any shout. "People like me," she repeated, her eyes holding Emma's without flinching. At that moment, Tyler stepped into the doorway, stopping when he heard, "You mean people who work 2 jobs? People who clean up after folks who never learned to pick up after themselves? People who pulled your fiancé out of a burning car on I-85 and kept him breathing till the ambulance came? Those people like me." The room tilted. For a heartbeat, nobody spoke. Tyler's face went white. A sound left his mouth, half whisper, half broken memory. "The highway," he said, eyes locked on Denise. "The Honda. The fire. It was you." The flash of that night came back in full, like a movie he had tried to shove off a shelf and break, but never could. Rain slashing the windshield, his phone lighting up with a text from Emma back when they had just started dating. The sudden blur of headlights crossing the center line, then metal screaming, glass flying, his car flipping, his body a rag doll inside. He remembered hanging upside down, the world red and orange, gas smell thick in his nose. A woman's voice reached him through the roar, strong and steady. "Hey, stay with me, okay? I got you. You hear me? I got you." Hands had fought with his seatbelt, then arms had dragged him out across wet pavement. He had coughed, smoke, and blood while the sky spun overhead. Strong hands had pressed on his chest, counting, breathing for him when he couldn't. Sirens had wailed, lights had flashed blue and red, and he had thought, "This is it. This is where I die." But he didn't. Someone had kept him here. The doctors later called it a miracle. Tyler had always wondered about the stranger the cop mentioned, the woman who disappeared before he woke up in the hospital. Now he was looking right at her. Denise met his gaze, and this time she didn't look away. "You kept asking if we'd met," she said quietly. "I didn't want to make a big thing of it. I was on my way home from the night shift back then, still wearing my nurse scrubs. Saw your car flip right in front of me. I couldn't just drive by." Emma's legs felt weak. She grabbed a chair back to steady herself. "You saved his life," she whispered, the words thick and slow, like she had to push them through mud. Denise nodded once. "Best I could. Anyway, the Lord did the rest." The door was still half open. Hannah, coming up the hall, heard enough to stop in her tracks. Diane stepped out of the elevator and saw the scene, her eyes narrowing, mind already trying to twist it into something she could manage. But the truth in the room was too big to spin away. Tyler crossed to Denise in 3 fast steps, tears already burning his eyes. "I've been looking for you," he said, voice rough. "I didn't know your name, but I prayed I'd get to thank you someday. And all this time, you've been making our bed and picking up our dirty towels." Silence wrapped around them, heavy and sharp. Emma's face burned with a shame so deep it made her feel small and hollow. She remembered every word she had thrown at Denise, every time she had looked right through her in the hallway, every moment she had counted herself more important because of a dress, a ring, a bank account. Her tongue felt thick with the taste of those words now, and she wanted to spit them out, take them back, crush them under her heel. But words didn't work that way. "Why? Why didn't you say something?" she managed, her voice cracking. Denise shifted her weight and sighed. "Because I wasn't trying to be anybody's hero," she said. "I just did what I was trained to do. And then, life happened. My mama got sick. Yolan was still little. I had to stop working night shifts at the hospital. This place was hiring. Cleaning is honest work. I don't mind it. But I do mind being treated like dirt on the bottom of someone's shoe." Her eyes glistened now, though no tears fell. "I got my pride, too." Tyler turned slowly toward Emma, and what she saw in his face scared her more than any fight they had ever had. It wasn't anger burning there, not yet. It was disappointment, cold and deep. "Is that really how you talk to people?" he asked softly. That softness hurt more than any shout. Emma opened her mouth and closed it again. The right words, the ones she needed, wouldn't come. "I was stressed," she said at last, the excuse sounding small and stupid, even to her own ears. "My mom, this wedding I didn't mean you did," Denise said, not cruelly, just true. "You meant it when you said it. The question is, are you gonna mean it tomorrow, too? Next week? Next time?" The door behind them swung open wider as the hotel manager walked in, eyes darting between the rich guests and the maid in the gray uniform. He knew where the power usually sat in a room like this, and he moved toward Emma with quick, nervous steps. "Miss Westmore, is there a problem?" he asked. "We can move Ms. Carter to a different floor if she's bothering you." Denise's mouth tightened, and she picked up her cleaning caddy. "Don't worry," she said. "You won't need to move me. I'll clock out now." She headed for the door, each step feeling heavier than the last. Tyler's heart lurched. "Wait," he said, reaching out, but she kept walking. Emma watched her go, watched the woman who had pulled Tyler back from the edge of death walk out of the room because of her. A cold thought slid down her spine. What kind of bride screams at the person who saved her husband's life? What kind of person does that? The rest of the evening blurred. There were questions from family, whispers among bridesmaids, a tense phone call where Diane tried to convince the manager to handle the help and make sure there was no drama on the wedding day. Tyler barely spoke to Emma as they rode the elevator down to the lobby together. When the doors opened, he stepped out without taking her hand like he usually did. Outside the hotel, the warm Georgia night wrapped around them, thick with the smell of car exhaust and tree sap. Emma's chest felt tight, like the air itself was judging her. "Tyler, please say something," she begged, heels clicking on the sidewalk as she hurried to keep up with him. He stopped at the edge of the driveway and turned to face her. The hotel lights made golden circles in his eyes, but they were hard now. "I almost died that night," he said quietly. "I don't talk about it much, but it changed everything for me. Made me want to be a better person, you know, to not waste time, to treat people right. I always thought you got that about me." Emma's throat burned. "I do," she said. "You know I do. I messed up." He shook his head. "You didn't just mess up. You talked to her like she was less than human, like she was furniture. And that's not the first time I've seen you talk down to people who work here." Memories flashed through his mind. The way she had snapped at a waiter for bringing the wrong kind of bread. The eye roll when the Uber driver missed a turn. The tight smile she wore when she tipped the valet, as if she was doing him a favor. Emma felt them slam into her like little stones she had thrown long ago, coming back around to hit her in the face. "I learned it from my mom," she whispered. "That doesn't make it right," Tyler replied. He ran a hand through his hair, then let it drop. "I love you, Em, but I can't promise the rest of my life to someone who thinks how much money we have makes us better than anyone else. I almost lost my life, and the person who saved it has been picking up our trash while you treat her like she's nothing. That doesn't sit right with me." His words cracked something open inside her, something old and sore. Emma thought of being 8 years old, hiding on the stairs while her dad packed a suitcase. Her mom shouting about how they were too good to be left like this, about how no one walked away from a Westmore. She remembered how, after he left, her mom had thrown her whole heart into appearances. Perfect house, perfect lawn, perfect daughter. "People respect power," Diane had said. "They walk all over you if you're soft." Emma had believed her, because what else did she have? Now, looking at Tyler, she saw another truth. Power without kindness didn't look strong at all. It just looked mean. That night, she barely slept. She lay in the big hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, hearing her own voice again and again. People like you. She hated that girl in her memory, the one in the silk robe with tears in her eyes and poison on her tongue. Morning came gray and heavy. The wedding day. Emma sat alone by the window, still in sweatpants and a hoodie, watching cars move along the freeway in the distance. Each one held someone with a whole life, a whole story she would never know. She thought of Denise's quiet phone call in the elevator, the way her face had lit up when she talked to her son. She thought of burned scars that told a story of courage long before Emma ever put on a white dress. A soft knock sounded at the door. "It's open," she called, wiping her eyes fast. Hannah slipped inside, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you got hit by a truck," Hannah said gently, handing her a cup. Emma let out a weak laugh. "Feels like it." For a while they just sat, side by side on the windowsill, sipping coffee and watching the city wake up. "Are you still getting married?" Hannah asked at last. Emma took a shaky breath. "I don't know," she said. "I don't know if I deserve to." Hannah turned to face her. "Look," she said, "you messed up. Big time. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. What you said to her, it was ugly. But I've also known you since 7th grade. I've seen you cry over hurt dogs and give your allowance to some kid who forgot lunch money. This ugly thing is a part of you, but it's not all of you. The question is, what are you gonna do with it?" Emma stared down at her hands, small and smooth and soft, nothing like the scarred hands that had pulled Tyler from fire. "What can I do?" she whispered. "I can't change what I said." "No," Hannah agreed. "But you can own it. You can say you're sorry without making excuses. You can treat her like a human being worth honoring, not hiding. And you can decide who you want to be from here on out, no matter what your mom taught you." Emma pictured herself walking down the aisle later. Faces turned toward her, cameras flashing. The whole day built around her dress, her flowers, her smile. Then she pictured Denise driving away last night, alone in an old car that coughed smoke, too proud to let her tears fall in front of strangers. One image made her feel fancy. The other made her feel honest. She stood up, heart pounding. "Do you know if Denise is working today?" she asked. Hannah lifted one shoulder. "Manager said," she called out. "I think she quit." The words hit Emma like a punch. She grabbed her keys from the table. "Then I'll have to go find her," she said. "Before I put on that dress, I need to face who I was in it yesterday." It took 2 phone calls to the hotel office, one awkward talk with the manager, and a bit of begging before someone finally gave her an address. On the drive to the south side, Emma's BMW felt like a spaceship from another world, gliding past strip malls and old brick houses with patched roofs. Kids rode beat-up bikes along cracked sidewalks. A woman carried grocery bags on the bus stop bench, fanning herself with a church flyer. Emma's chest tightened as she pulled up to the small apartment building the manager had named. The paint peeled in places, and a swing on one porch hung by one chain, but a row of bright plastic flowers lined the walkway like a stubborn shout of color. She climbed the stairs, her heart pounding in her ears. At the 2nd floor landing, she saw Denise sitting on the edge of the walkway in jeans and a blue t-shirt, folding a pile of little boy t-shirts into a laundry basket. The morning light caught on her scars, turning them silver. "Ms. Carter," Emma said softly. Denise looked up, startled. For a second her face hardened, like a door closing. "How did you get my address?" she asked, standing up, shoulders squared. "If this is about your wedding." "I already told the manager I'm not here about the wedding," Emma cut in, her voice shaking. "I'm here about you, and about what I did." The words tumbled out of her, messy and raw, nothing like the smooth speeches she had practiced for the toast. "What I said to you was cruel," she began, hands twisting together. "It was wrong. I was scared and stressed, and trying to look like I was in control, and I used you as a place to dump all that. I talked to you like you were less than me because of your job, and because she swallowed hard, forcing herself not to look away. Because of the color of your skin. I hate that that's true, but it is. I sounded like my mother, and like all the people who raised me, to think money makes you better. I am so sorry. Her voice cracked on the last word, and she blinked fast, but the tears came anyway. Denise studied her, arms folded. The hurt in her eyes was still real, still fresh. You know, she said slowly, most of the time, people like you don't apologize. They just pretend it didn't happen and throw money at the problem. Or they say, I'm sorry you felt that way, like it's my fault for being hurt. Emma nodded quickly. I'm not asking you to forgive me just to make me feel better, she said. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to be better than who I was in that room. And I want my marriage, if it still happens, to be built on respect for people like you. Actually, for people, period. A door opened behind them, and a tall, skinny teen with headphones around his neck stepped out, holding a basketball. He looked from Denise to Emma, curiosity in his eyes. Everything okay, Mom? He asked. Denise relaxed a bit. Yeah, Yalan, she said. This is my boss's daughter. Emma winced. Not anymore, she said quickly. Today, I'm just Emma, and I'm someone whose almost husband is alive, because your mom is braver than most people I know. Jalen's eyes widened. You never told me you saved somebody, he said, turning to his mother. Denise rolled her eyes gently. Didn't seem important, she muttered. Emma took a breath. It's important to me, she said. If you'll let me, I'd like you both to come to the wedding. Not to work, as guests. Sit in the front. Eat the food. Dance. Be there as the reason I even get to have a husband to say I do too. Denise stared at her like she was trying to see if this was some kind of joke. You want the maid and her kids sitting up front at your fancy Buckhead wedding? She asked, one eyebrow raised. Emma nodded, a small, shaky smile breaking through. I want the woman who saved Tyler's life, and the boy she works. So hard for sitting where I can see them and remember who I want to be. The church that afternoon didn't look exactly like the picture Emma had pinned on her wedding board years ago. The florist had to move a few centerpieces to make room for extra chairs in the front row. The schedule ran almost 40 minutes late. Some guests whispered when Denise walked in wearing a simple blue dress and low heels. Yalan in a slightly too big suit beside her, his tie crooked and his smile wide. Emma's mother's eyes went sharp as glass when she saw them sitting in the front. But before she could march over, Tyler stepped between them. They're here at my request, he said calmly. And at Emma's. Diane looked from her son-in-law to-be to her daughter, who stood near the doors in her white gown, veil hanging soft over her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, Emma met her mother's gaze without flinching. This is my wedding, Mom, she said, her voice steady. And this is how I want to start my marriage. The music began, and as Emma walked down the aisle, she didn't look at the flowers, or the photographer, or even her mother's frozen face. She looked at Tyler waiting for her, and then at Denise and Yalan sitting in the front row, hands folded, eyes shining. When the pastor asked if anyone had words to say before the vows, Emma surprised everyone, even herself, by stepping up to the mic. Before we promise our lives to each other, she said, voice trembling, I need to say thank you to someone. Denise Carter, you saved Tyler's life years ago. And yesterday, you held up a mirror to me and showed me a part of myself I never wanted to see. I treated you like less than human, and you still had the courage to speak truth. Because of you, I get a second chance today, not just at having a husband, but at being a better human being. I am so sorry, and I am so grateful. The room was so quiet she could hear her own heartbeat. Then, slowly, Denise stood. She didn't make a speech. She just nodded, one hand pressed over her heart, eyes full of a softness that felt like an open door. Tyler reached for Emma's hands, and this time, when they said their vows. They didn't just promise to love each other when life was easy. They promised to use their comfort to lift others instead of standing on their backs. Later, at the reception, Yolande danced so hard the DJ laughed, and Denise ate cake at a table near the dance floor while strangers came up to shake her hand. Emma's mother sat very still at her table, watching all of it, her face unreadable. Near the end of the night, she walked over to Denise, lips tight. "Thank you," she said stiffly, "for what you did for my son-in-law. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start." As the evening wound down, Emma and Tyler stood by the doorway to see guests off. When Denise and Yalin came by, Emma hugged them both, surprising herself with how natural it felt. "You changed my life twice," she whispered to Denise. "Once when you saved Tyler, and once when you told me the truth." Denise smiled, a small, proud smile that reached all the way to her eyes. "Then don't waste it," she said. And as the doors of the hall closed and the lights dimmed, Emma knew the real gift of that day wasn't the flowers, or the dress, or even the ring on her finger. It was the hard, bright lesson that the people we look down on are often the ones holding us up, and that you must never judge a person's worth by their job or their skin, because the heart you ignore today may be the one that saved your life.